So, imagine this. You wake up one morning, you go to check your bank account, and the bank is just gone. The website is blank, the building's vanished. That's not a movie plot. It's the real story of a digital heist so huge it almost took down Bitcoin before it even got started. This is the story of Mount Gox.
Back in February of 2014, this was the question just screaming across the internet. Mount Gox, which was the biggest Bitcoin exchange in the world at the time, had just vanished. One minute it's there, the next, it's a blank page. For traders everywhere, it was pure panic. Their money was just gone.
And here's why they were panicking. 850,000. That's how many Bitcoins had disappeared into thin air. I mean, that is a staggering amount of money, basically plucked from what was supposed to be the safest vault in the entire crypto world. And to put a dollar figure on it, at the time, that was worth $450 million. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a simple hack, you know? This was one of the biggest robberies in history. And the wildest part, it was all done through a keyboard. No masks, no guns, just a $500 million heist.
So the big question is, how on earth does something like this even happen? Well, to get it, you have to understand the absolutely bizarre beginning of Mount Gox and the, let's say, eccentric guy who ran the whole show. And trust me, this story doesn't start on Wall Street. It starts with a game.
Yep, you heard that right. Mount Gox literally stands for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange. It was a website for trading fantasy game cards. Then, in 2011, it gets sold to a young programmer from France named Mark Karpelles who decided, hey, maybe I can use this thing to trade Bitcoin.
And this is where the story gets really wild. You've got this guy, Mark Karpelles. Online, his persona is Magical Tux, just the super geeky dude. But in reality, this one guy is the CEO of the company handling 70% of all Bitcoin transactions on the planet. I mean, think about that. The fate of this revolutionary new currency was basically in the hands of one person. And this quote, well, it tells you a lot. He wasn't just running the exchange, he was loving the power. He saw himself as the king of Bitcoin, and he was for a little while. But the thing about his kingdom is that it was built on a foundation of, well, we'll get to that. Because here's the real kicker. The big collapse in 2014, it wasn't a surprise attack. It was the final scene of a horror movie that had been playing in secret for years. See, the exchange was being robbed blind, in slow motion, right under everyone's noses.
Just look at this timeline. It is terrifying. It all starts in 2011 when hackers steal the digital keys to the money. And from there, they just started slowly, quietly draining coins. A little here, a little there. By 2013, Mount Gox was basically hollow. They were using new customer deposits to pay off old withdrawals, which is not good. So you have to be asking, how does a $500 million theft go completely unnoticed for years? Well, the answer is just pure absolute chaos. The software was a disaster, there was no one tracking code changes, and every single critical fix had to be approved by Mark Karpelles himself, creating massive delays. The books were such a mess they couldn't even see the money pouring out the back door. And all that chaos, all that mismanagement, it brings us right back to those insane final days in February 2014. The secrets were about to come out, and the entire house of cards was about to fall down for the whole world to see. And when it fell fast. First, on February 7th, boom, all withdrawals are stopped. Then they release this really flimsy excuse blaming a bug in Bitcoin itself. Next, Karpelles just quietly resigns from the Bitcoin Foundation board. And the very next day, the website is gone. Just a blank white page.
That's when the floodgates opened. An internal document gets leaked and it confirms everyone's worst nightmare. Almost 750,000 Bitcoins were gone, stolen over years. The memo even said that this disaster could be the end of Bitcoin. For a moment, people actually thought the whole crypto experiment was over. And then, a few days later, Mark Karpelles finally had to face the music. He holds a press conference in Tokyo. He bows, and in Japanese, he just says, "I'm sorry." He admitted it all. 850,000 Bitcoin gone. The king had officially lost his entire kingdom. So with Mount Gox just a pile of digital rubble, two massive questions were left hanging in the air. Who actually did this?
And what in the world was this going to mean for the future of crypto? The hunt was on. Now, of course, the first person everyone pointed a finger at was the king himself, Mark Karpelles. Was this whole thing an act? Was he secretly a criminal mastermind who had played everyone? A lot of angry customers sure thought so. But the courts told a different story. In the end, Mark Karpelles was found not guilty of stealing the Bitcoin. However, he was found guilty of faking the company's records to hide how bad the losses were. So the verdict was basically, he wasn't the master thief, but his total incompetence and deception made the whole crime possible. Okay, so if it wasn't the guy on the inside, who was it? The investigation then had to pivot. They weren't looking for one man anymore. They were hunting for a team of incredibly skilled hackers. And for years, the trail was cold, but investigators kept digging. Then, in 2017, a huge break. They arrested a Russian national for laundering the stolen money. And then, finally, in 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice charged 2 other Russians with the actual hack. The only problem, the main suspects are still in Russia, well beyond the reach of the law. And just when you think the story couldn't get any weirder, it does. During the bankruptcy, Mark Karpelles himself found 200,000 of the stolen Bitcoin. They were just sitting in an old digital wallet he'd forgotten about. Now that might sound small, but with Bitcoin's price today, that found money is worth billions, and it's giving the people who lost everything a tiny glimmer of hope. You know, out of all this chaos, one of the most important phrases in crypto was born. Not your keys, not your coins. It's a simple idea, but it's powerful. It means if you let an exchange hold your crypto for you, you don't really own it. You're just trusting them. And Mount Gox is Exhibit A for why that trust can be so incredibly dangerous. But here's the silver lining. The Mount Gox disaster was the brutal, painful wake-up call that the crypto industry desperately needed. It forced everyone to grow up. After this, exchanges got way more serious about security, about doing proper audits, and it's what really launched the idea of decentralized finance to make sure one company could never cause this much damage again. In the end, Bitcoin survived. You could even argue it came out stronger. But the ghost of Mount Gox still looms over everything. It's this constant, powerful reminder about the price of convenience and the importance of control. It taught the world a hard, expensive lesson about trust. But it also leaves us with one pretty unsettling question. As the hackers get smarter and the tech gets more complex, is any of our digital money truly safe?